Good morning. This is Dawn from Tevoro. This is a brief explanation of what I refer to as the model you can draw. If you're interested in DeFi, AI, finance, or self-governance, I think you'll be interested in this. I like this quote. I think it's spot on. It's not just a time for executives to embrace AI and experiment with it in their companies. It's time to really think through what your AI self-governance model is going to be and how it aligns with your human values. That's what we are doing here at Tevoro. Today to explain the triangle, which was my first case study that I did for the financial system, predominantly for the DeFi arena, because I worked in institutional finance for many years, and I noticed that institutional quality wasn't quite there, and I wondered why. So I started building check and balance systems I knew from my old days in traditional financial institutions and tried to come up with a model that people could apply in the DeFi world. This is what the finished product looked like. Each one of these lines represents a state in the surveillance or initiation of a new financial product, and the dots are the participants in the system. You'll notice there are 7 dots, and there are 7 lines, and only 3 of them, of the participants, can take place or access data at any one point in the process. So let's dig in. In the beginning, we have to start with a challenge, and for me, it was, what is it that creates a more robust due diligence and analysis process for the traditional institution than what we see in the DeFi world? So if you are our CEO and you're looking at your company, I don't care if you're in finance or not, you're going to see jargon encoded text embedded in your policies. So the first step in translating them is really trying to figure out, what are they saying? Look at some of the examples on this screen. Do you know what a pitch book is, what a quiet period is, what a gray list is, if they're over the wall, if they've gone to committee, if it's in strong hands, or you're pitching, or you're drafting? These are the things that you have to understand just to get to the beginning steps of developing a self-governance policy. So I broke through that, and this is what I came up with. I tried to find the minimum number of participants required to complete any initial public offering and conduct ongoing surveillance of an investment vehicle. I refer to this as the investment vehicle life cycle. Spoiler alert, I contend that the modern definition of a policy should include man, machine, and products, because we've gotten to a point where we have so much automation. So you'll see that I have included the investment vehicle as part of this process that's in the center of the diagram, number 6. Self-governance, I found, is not the processes that are taking place that are often automated, but instead they are channels of communication. And in financial institutions, those channels of communication are very closely monitored, and only certain people are allowed to access data at specific points in the investment vehicle lifecycle. So here you can see some of the names used by the industry for each of these lines, which represent one of the states of the vehicle, investment vehicle, either being originated, launched, or monitored after it's gone public. So when I did these speeches earlier, I used to call the points in the diagram the participants. The lines represent the states of capitalism, and the triangle in the center is really interesting. That's a point of consensus, and it's done by 3 participants that typically represent the broker-dealer. And that point of consensus I've often referred to as the form of democracy. So when I look at this diagram, I see the form of democracy in the states of capitalism. When these states are formalized into a table, I refer to it as a governance block. The table shows which parties can participate in each function. Spoiler alert, you probably have seen this pattern in 4th grade math. Nonetheless, it's interesting to note that this table also represents a 7-3-1 combinatorial pattern. There are 7 steps, 7 participants. Only 3 participants are active in any one state, and only 2 can work together at any point in the process. It's important to note that no one participant within the broker-dealer can maximize his income without gaining consensus of his counterparts. This is designed to keep any one person from maximizing his own constituents' profit at the expense of another participant in the process. So in this case, the analyst reports to the investor. The trader really works with the exchange, and the banker works with the company. If you break this down further, you can create this same table you saw before into what's called an incidence matrix. This is really common in computer science, and it's used to show software programs where they can and cannot access information. So what I've done is translate the human policy into a governance block, and then translated the governance block into an incidence matrix. At this point, we have just converted human policies into an equivalent that is much easier for machines to read. This is the basis of the model you can draw. If you understand that I have now taken that incidence matrix and projected it onto a Fano plane, that is another way to represent a 731 combinatorial optimization strategy. And if you understand what each of these states are, you now have a model you can draw on the back of a napkin and really conduct your own analysis of what's going on surrounding an investment vehicle. If any of these points are missing, you know that you have opened an opportunity for the endpoints to collude or cooperate at the expense of other participants in the system. So here's my challenge to you. Pick any investment and check to see if it conforms to this diagram. If you find any point missing, you know that there's a potential for an issue there, and more research is required before you make a final decision on your opinion on that investment vehicle. That's how the triangle works. One last spoiler alert, there's so much more to this technique, including a way to make searching for additional patterns a methodical exercise. Follow Tevoro on Instagram, LinkedIn, or X, and stay in touch. You can also look at an executive overview that we have on our website, Tevoro.com, and there is a scientific overview of the branches of science I used to create this initial model that's also on the Tevoro.com site. Thanks so much for listening.